Hey guys, welcome to Some Things Fishy. Today we're going to be talking about algae scrapers.
Yeah, we decided that we've been doing a lot of videos of our fish, seahorses, things like that, some tank setup, but we wanted to get some product reviews in so that you know what scrapers and what other products are really the best for you to get into.
And there's a lot of different products out there, so we decided to start kind of simple with algae scrapers. If you have a fish tank, freshwater, saltwater, doesn't matter, you need one of these, right? Like, you will notice very quickly that you need one of these.
Basically, if you're feeding your fish at all, ever, your tank and your glass is gonna get dirty here and there. And algae scrapers are just a simple, relatively cheap solution to getting rid of that algae, getting rid of the crap that gets on your glass. So we wanted to break down the ones that we typically use, and we even have a makeshift one for those of you who like to penny pinch a little bit. And yeah, we're just gonna break down some pros and cons and talk about which one you should get for your tank.
So to start out, the most common and probably the most popular are these mag floats. We have 3 different types here with us today. The one that Landon's holding up to the camera is the largest one that they have with the razor blade attachment. These are awesome scrapers.
Yeah, they'll scrape it up real nice.
Right, this is like what you want to use if you have a tank that gets crap on it regularly, and not just algae, but also like random hitchhikers. For example, this is one I got off Amazon. It's Aqueon. I think it was like $10. But if you look closely on it, there's all sorts of these weird little what are they called? Like feather dusters. They're like little tiny versions of them. Yeah. And they have a little shell that they make on the glass. Well, this thing is my scraper. It doesn't have one of those razor blades. All it has is just a rough material on it. And so it can't really get these off completely. So the ones with the scrapers on them do a lot better job.
I've noticed that the smaller fish tanks, so the one that I have is a 16-gallon, they get really dirty real quick. I think the chemicals are really compact in there, and it just gets the glass dirty very quickly. At first, I just assumed a little tiny guy like this should be fine. It's only a 16-gallon fish tank, should be no problem at all. That really wasn't the case. I guess it's not really the size that matters, but what you really want pretty much always is you want something with one of these scrapers on it. Because you could just sit there and scrub and scrub and scrub with one of these small little guys, and you think it's gonna work. It really doesn't. I would just really recommend using something with a scraper despite the size of your fish tank.
If you have a lot of surface area, then yeah, you should get something like this. But really, if all you have is a fish tank that just needs scraping, you need something with a scraper on it. And that's actually, so like I said, I bought this on Amazon I have a 55-gallon. It's really tall, so it actually has quite a bit of surface area. So I was like, oh, this will probably work fine. But it doesn't get everything. And so my dad actually, he was really frustrated. He's like, oh, this tank looks dirty. Like, this thing doesn't work. So he made this little contraption here. It's really ghetto and probably kind of dangerous, but he just duct taped a razor blade to the end of an old, I think this is an arrow shaft. Or a dowel of some kind. And so, we can get down in the tank and scrape whatever junk accumulates on the edges. And so this is like basically a free way that you could, have this that was only $10, then this is your scraper for stuff that gets stuck. Because the weird little barnacles or whatever you want to call them, they accumulate in specific areas. So this is a great way to deal with that.
If you have a tank that's smaller than the 55-gallon, you might not even need to makeshift onto an arrow shaft like this. You might be able just to grab a razor blade or a sharp knife and just kind of go and do your own scraping off. Again, this is if you really don't want to spend the money on one of these more expensive scrapers. We definitely recommend, in terms of just reviews, these mag floats. They're really good. If you don't want to if you don't really need the bigger one, go ahead and just get this small, medium-sized one. These are great. This is what I use now in the smaller tank that I have. But if you do really want to save money, just get a razor blade. That's basically all that it is. Just get one of these cheaper ones that can scrub and get that going. But if you really need something sharp to get off the tough to do things, a razor blade will do you fine. All right, let's go ahead and talk about pricing a little bit, because that's going to be a main factor that influences your purchase of one of these scrapers. This one, definitely going to be your cheapest option. You can probably find other off-brand kind of cheap options out there on the internet as well. This one's called Aqueon. I don't know if that's how you say it, but that's what we're going to say right now. This will be about $10, like we said earlier in the video. Cheap, isn't going to be as good. No. Can you get by with it? Sure, should be fine. especially if you just have a razor blade or something sharp, like we said, to get off the hard to do stuff.
Moving into the mag floats, these are the industry standard. I've seen these everywhere. I'm in a lot of people's homes that have fish tanks, and they always have one of these just to clean it. Starting out with the smallest, this tiny little guy is probably going to cost you anywhere between 10 and 15 bucks. They're great. They work well. The issue is they don't have a blade on them. They don't have any way to attach a blade on them either. They might sell one that's similar to this, but this works fine for getting off crud. But you need, if you want a blade, you have to go a little bit bigger, which is the medium-sized ones. These ones will set you back. So you actually buy the blades and the actual mag float separately. So the mag float itself, I believe, is like $15, and then the blade is another $10. And I think it comes with 2 replacements. So that comes out to what did I say, 25 bucks? So not bad at all. And then you have the big kahuna. These actually, I think, use the same blade. So again, the blade is $10, and then this one's gonna be like 25 bucks. So $35-ish.
Yeah,
roughly.
somewhere around there.
Yeah.
We looked on Amazon right now. There are bigger ones that you can get for this. We saw some mag floats going for like $60. We even saw some that were going for $100. Not sure what that's about.
Yeah.
Really not sure what that's about.
Don't buy a $100 mag float,
think you
please.
need that. You really don't need that. This, I don't care how big your tank is, if you have something like this, or even like this, if you want to put some more work into it, get a little arm workout for 20 minutes, they'll be fine. They'll get it off. You should be fine with any of these. We really like the mag floats. At just reviewing the product, this stuff is great. It does really good work. Like we referred to earlier, this will get you by. Not a bad product. Just not having that blade really does cause some issues.
Right, which is why we went out of our way to make this really ugly piece of equipment. So spend the money that you can. I'd suggest just breaking down and get something like this. I think I would have saved money in the long run, because I'm probably gonna end up buying one of these anyway for my tank, and they're really not that much more expensive, and it'll make things look a lot better.
Stay tuned. We're gonna take some videos so you can get some footage of how well these do on a tank. We're gonna show you how well they work on the tanks that we have here. Let's start with the smallest of the mag floats that we have. This one, remember, doesn't have a blade with it, and as I mentioned earlier, it tends to lose its magnetic connection and flies off in your tank, so that gets a little bit annoying. It's not the best, to be honest, for getting off the grime and the algae from your tank, but, I guess it could work if you really want to put your mind to it. Let's talk a little bit about the Aqueon, switch gears a little bit. This one's also pretty good. It gets off the grime, as you can see here, not too bad. It doesn't have that scraper though, and so you really have to scrub it over and over again to really get it off. It doesn't scrape it off cleanly. What really bothers me about the Aqueon though is that it does not float, which is so impractical. Like, how in the world are you supposed to pick that up if you have a super big deep tank? It's not good. That is a big no-no for me. In regards to the medium-sized mag float, I've got nothing but good things to say. It tears through this grime, it gets it off really nice, really easy. That blade works really, really well. No complaints here. The large mag float is definitely my favorite though, just because it's a little bit bigger, it fits in your hand a little bit better than all of the other ones do. If you have a larger tank, this will just cut through it faster. You won't have to spend as much time scraping out the algae and the grime. So if you have the means, if you got the budget for it, I would definitely recommend that you just go for the larger mag float scrapers. I would avoid the other ones, the cheaper ones, because I think in the long run, you're just going to be a little bit upset by it, and you're just going to want to upgrade and get one of these anyways. I'm going to be honest with you, this scraper that we jimmy rigged is actually really good. It totally cuts through this grime and even the hard algae that even the scrapers don't get off very well. I would recommend it. If you've got some stuff that really needs to get off, do this. Also, if your tank is really deep, like my dad's seahorse tank is right here, it is so nice to get into the hard to reach places. Totally use this. I think it's great. Not a bad idea at all.